Good day, everyone. So, my name is Jason Losisobiaga, and the topic that I'm going to discuss with you today is about the characteristic of post-EDSA literature. But before that, let us know first what is post-EDSA literature. Post-EDSA literature refers to the body of literary works produced in the Philippines after the EDSA People Power Revolution of 1986, which marked the end of the Marcos dictatorship and the beginning of a new era of democratic governance. This period in Philippine literature is characterized by a newfound freedom of expression and a renewed interest in local themes and concerns. Basically, during the EDSA Revolution in 1986, demarcates the beginning of new scenes in the unfolding narrative of contemporary Philippine literature. It saw the fall of dictatorship that President Marcos set up on the September 21st, 1972, when he placed the Philippines under martial law, or having a martial rule, initiating a regime that did not only suppress the writer's right to free expression but also created conditions that made collaboration and co-optation convenient choices for artists struggling for recognition and survival. And also during the post-EDSA literatures, there are two creative writing centers. So first, we have the academic institutions where creative writing is a part of the undue curricular offerings. Second, writers' organizations that periodically sponsors symposia on writer and set up workshop for its members and other interested parties. Also, during the post-EDSA literatures, there are writers' organizations. We have UMPIL or Union ng mga manunulat ng Pilipino, Panulat, Pambansang Union ng mga manunulat, Pandaylipi, GAT o Galian sa Arte, and Katha. Also, Lira or Linangan sa Imahe, Retorika at Anyo. Gumil o Gunglo, Dagiti, Manunurat nga Ilocano, Ludabi or Lubas sa Dagang Bisaya, at Pen or Pen, Essay, and Novel. Now, let's move to the characteristic of post-EDSA literatures. So first is post-EDSA publishing has been marked by adventurousness, a willingness to gamble on non-traditional projects. After sa 1986 nga People Power Revolution, publishing became more daring and open to new ideas, which is publishers they started taking rest on unique and unconventional projects, supporting works that explore fresh themes, experimental styles, and topics previously considered too bold or unusual. This created a more dynamic and diverse literary scene. So that would be all my part to this topic. My co-discussant will continue the characteristic of post-EDSA literature. Thank you so much.
Good day everyone, my name is Johan Bimigrinyo and I'm going to discuss the feminist sentiments also flourish in the Philippines contemporary arts and literature. So after the EDSA People Power Revolution of 1986, which marked a significant political and social transformation in the Philippines, feminist sentiments in contemporary arts and literature flourished as part of a broader cultural shift. The end of the Marcos dictatorship opened up space for the diverse expression of freedom, identity, and critique, including the feminist voices that sought to address gender inequality, challenges traditional roles, and assert women's rights. So, feminism in Philippine contemporary arts. The post-EDSA period saw Filipino artists, particularly women, using their arts to engage with feminist themes such as body politics, gender roles, social justice, and the intersection of women's rights with other forms of oppressions. So this is example of feminism and Philippine contemporary art. One of the example, Imelda Kahipi Indaya. Her works combine indigenous imagery with social commentary, focus on the struggle of women in the context of Philippine culture and history. Um, Kahipi Indaya's work also explore how women's role were shaped by colonialism and the ongoing patriarchal system in the Philippines. One of her keywords is Tulay ng Bayan, a mixed media basis that examines women's roles as both caretaker and resilience figures in society. So, feminism and Philippine literature. The post is a mark significant period of feminist literature in the Philippines. Um, so, many writers used to use literature as platform to discuss women's rights, sexual authority, gendered violence, and resistance against patriarchal structure. So one of the examples of feminism in Philippine literature is Luwalhati Bautista, with his work Desaparecidos in 1977 and Sa Mga Kuko ng Liwanag in 1973. It became important literary works that continue to explore the struggle of Filipino women, often intersecting with themes of national liberation and human rights. Bautista's works also post era remain deeply critical and partial on social structure and continued to address the gender-based oppression. So that is all my report about the feminist sentiment also flourish in the Philippine contemporary arts and literature. Thank you for watching, everyone.
Good day, everyone. My name is Merje Samantina, and this is the continuation of the topic about the characteristics of post-EDSA literature. Okay, let's start. Okay, the fourth one is declining the prestige of the new criticism, whose rigorous aesthetic norms has previously functioned as a Protestant bed on which the Filipino authors and their works were measured, has opened a gap in the critical evaluation and literary works. So the statement accurately captures a key shift in Philippine literary criticism following the EDSA revolution. Here is the breakdown of the statements, meaning and its significance. So first is declining prestige of new criticism. The new criticism was a dominant force in literary analysis for a significant period. So, It emphasizes close reading of the text, focusing on internal structure and language and form, often neglecting historical context and authorial intent. So this approach, while valuable, could be seen as limiting, especially in the context like Philippines where social and political realities heavily influence literary works. So imagine a rigid, unyielding bed. That's what new criticism was like for Filipino authors. So this critical approach, popular before EDSA focused on the text itself, ignoring the things like the author's life or the social context of the work. It was forcing everyone to fit into the same mold, even if their stories were unique. So, a second one is Procrustean bed. This metaphor refers to mythical Greek figures, Procrustes, who forced travelers to fit his bed by either stretching or cutting them. So in this context, the Procrustean bed represent the rigid and flexible norms of new criticism. Filipino authors and their works were often judged against these norms, potentially overlooking the unique qualities and nuances of their writing. So, the third one is the gap in critical evaluation. The decline of new criticisms' dominance opened up space for new critical approaches. So, the gap allowed for a more diverse and inclusive understanding of Philippine literature, taking into account. So new criticism, which is strict rules, became less relevant. This opened the door for new ways of looking at the literature, allowing for a deeper understanding of Filipino stories. So, historical context, the social, political, and cultural realities that shape the works. Authorial intent, the author's motivations and purpose in writing. Cultural influences, the specific cultural values and traditions that inform the literary work. So the shift empowered authors to explore their own unique voices and experiences rather than just saying to fit into a predetermined mold. It also allowed for a more nuanced and inclusive understanding of Philippine literature, moving beyond the rigid rules and embracing the richness and complexity of Filipino stories. So, in conclusion, the decline of new criticism in the post-EDSA era was a crucial development for Philippine literature. It allowed for a more inclusive and nuanced approach to literary analysis, empowering Filipino authors and enriching the critical landscape. So, that's end my part. That would be all, and thank you for listening.
Hi everyone, this is Julian and I am the discussant for the characteristics of post-EDSA literature, specifically the fifth one, since there are 5 characteristics. The fifth characteristic is the following. There is in the academe an emerging critical orientation that draws its concerns and insights from literary theorizing current in England and US. So the post-EDSA literature is characterized by its use of new ideas from literary theories in the UK and the US, like postmodernism, postcolonialism, feminism, and Marxism. This allowed Filipino writers to rethink literature, history, and culture in fresh ways, exploring topics like identity, power, and social issues. For example, post-colonial theory helped writers examine the lasting effects of colonization, while feminist theory looked at gender roles and power in Philippine society. These influences helped create a deeper understanding of the Filipino experience in changing world after the EDSA People Power Revolution. I have provided 3 examples of post-EDSA literature that engage with critical orientations from global literary theories. First one is the Dekada 70 by Lualhati Bautista. This novel critiques social and gender inequities during the martial law era, using feminist and Marxist frameworks to explore the power dynamics and activism. The next one is the Bata Bata Paano Ka Ginawa by, again, Lualhati Bautista. This novel incorporates feminist theory to explore the experiences of women in a patriarchal society. The protagonist, which is Leia Bustamante, challenges the traditional gender roles as a single mother and an activist, reflecting the broader feminist discourse emerging in the academy. Okay, so the relevance of this novel to post-EDSA literature is that this novel critiques societal expectations of women, paralleling feminist concerns in global literature while grounding them in distinctly Filipino context. Next one is The Battle of Manila by F. Sionel Jose. This novel reflects on the lingering effects of colonialism and the historical scars of World War II in the Philippines, addressing identity and national trauma. The post-EDSA literature in the Philippines engages with new critical perspectives that help deepen the understanding of Filipino experiences. In works like Dekada 70 and Bata Bata Paano Ka Ginawa by Lualhati Bautista, it is focused on gender inequality and the effects of political struggles. These 2 novels that I have shown you, it shows how women and ordinary people face difficult social and political realities, while the Battle of Manila by F. Sionel Rosales explores the lasting impacts of colonialism and war on the Filipino identity. Through these works, the post-EDSA literature sheds light on issues of power, identity, and history in the Philippines. From the post-EDSA literature, the lesson that we could gain is that the importance of understanding how history, power, and social structures shape individual and collective identities. These literary works highlight the struggles of ordinary people, especially us, women, in challenging systems of inequality, while also exploring the lasting effects of colonialism and political turmoil. This lesson is relevant to us as what Dr. Jose Rizal said that kabataan ang pag-asa ng bayan. It encourages us to question the status quo, appreciate diverse perspectives, and reflect on our roles in society. In a world still grappling with issues of injustice and inequality, learning from these narratives help us better understand our shared history and empowers us to advocate for positive change. It is important because it fosters critical thinking, empathy, and a deeper connection to the challenges faced by others, promoting a more just and informed society. That would be all. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Hello sir. Good day. I am Karen Aguanza Perez and I am the discussant this day. My topic is all about the famous authors after EDSA 1986 to present. But first, I am going to discuss the characteristics of post-EDSA literature. So first characteristic is post-EDSA publishing has been marked by adventureness, a willingness to gamble on non-traditional projects. Second is a recuperation of writing in Philippine languages other than Tagalog. Third one is the feminist sentiments also flourished in Philippine contemporary art and literature. The fourth one is the declining prestige of the new criticism, whose rigorous aesthetic norms has previously functioned as the Procrustean bed on which Filipino authors and their works were measured, and has opened a gap in the critical evaluation of literary works. Fifth one is that there is an emerging critical orientation that draws its concerns and insights from literary theorizing current in England and in US. So let's delve into my topic, which is the famous authors after EDSA. First, we have Lilia Quindoza Santiago. So Lilia Quindoza Santiago, born on February 5, 1949 and died on February 15, 2021. She was an award-winning writer, an anthologist, and a literary critic. She was also chosen as the Makata ng Taon by the Surian ng Wikang Pambansa. Unfortunately, towards the end of her career, or distinguished career, she was diagnosed with leukemia and died in 2021. So her contributions to post-EDSA literature are her academic work focused on the languages of the Philippines, as well as the gender and sexuality. Also, during Ferdinand Marcos' presidency, she became an anti-regime student activist. And also, Lilia Quindoza Santiago contributed by writing pieces expressing her criticisms of the regime. Okay, what makes her relevant in today's society? After the martial law was imposed in 1972, she and her fellow activists were arrested and tortured by the regime, and she was held for more than a year. She later said that during her time in prison at Fort Bonifacio, she found comfort in writing poetry and storytelling, with them her life during martial law. And so what makes her relevant is that all of her writings, or she wrote about what happened in her life, what happened to her during imprisonment in 1972 at the Fort Bonifacio. So naging motivated siya to write poetry and to write storytelling, especially of what happened to her during that time. So the impact of her post-EDSA piece in today's literature are her works that resist militarization and dictatorship inspired many people. And also, Lilia Quindoza Santiago has been teaching at the University of the Philippines for more than 30 years. And she effectively keeps her lessons relevant by sharing, especially political students, to understand what kind of life citizens may possibly if the leadership of the nation is forceful. Second is the second author is Chelson Ong. Chelson Ong, born on July 6, 1960, and a 63 years old man, half Filipino and half Chinese. So he is a fictionist, writer, and a singer. He obtained an AB in psychology from the University of the Philippines in 1977 and currently teaches literature and creative writing under UP's Department of English and Comparative Literature. He also received a Palanca Award for his short story, The Trouble in Beijing. So his contributions to post-EDSA literature are the Chinese-Filipino literature had been seen in what they experienced during martial law. Also, he addresses social and political injustice during and after martial law. So what makes him relevant in today's society? Aside from teaching literature and creative writing in UP, he is also a multi-awarded fictionist and has made a significant contributions in the Philippine literature. And also, he has a lot of famous novels and short stories that have been awarded not just in the Philippines but also in abroad. He still writes novels and stories today. That is why he is known, and that makes him more relevant in today's society. Okay, the impact of his post-EDSA piece in today's literature. So, his literary piece or pieces made an impact in today's literature because it talks about not only the Philippine historical events during martial law, but also the experiences and injustice that the Filipino Chinese had been into. So the impact of his pieces is very relevant in today's literature, or very impactful in today's literature. It is because he did not just write about what the Philippine historical events, but also he wrote about what they had experienced during martial law, or what the Filipino Chinese experience, or his own experiences during the martial law. So I think that's all my part. Thank you so much, and God bless.
So good day everyone. Today I am going to discuss the famous authors after EDSA. So this is the continuation of the report of Ms. Perez. And now let's move on to the next author. So the name of the author is Jose Dalisay Jr. So I am going to discuss today is all about his biography, contribution to the EDSA literature, what makes him relevant in today's society, and the impact of his post-EDSA piece in today's literature. First is the biography. Jose Dalisay Jr., born on January 15, 1954 in Romblon, Philippines, is a prominent writer in academic, with over 25 books of fiction and non-fiction to his name, as well as the numerous plays and screen. He has cemented himself as one of the leading literary figures in the Philippines. As a professor of English and creative writing at the University of the Philippines, he has mentored generation of writers. His works, such as Soledad Sister, which was shortlisted for a Man Asian Literary Prize, reflect his mastery in storytelling and his focus on universal and uniquely Filipino themes. His global recognition with books published in United States, Europe, and Asia highlights his influence beyond his home country. Next one, let's move on to the contribution to post-EDSA literature. Jose Dalisay Jr. has significantly contributed to the post-EDSA literature by addressing themes of identity, history, and Filipino experience in his work. Post-EDSA literature emerged after the 1986 People Power Revolution, focusing on rebuilding and redefining Filipino identity in a new political and social landscape. Dalisay's novels, entitled Killing Time in a Warm Place, epitomizes this contribution. It captures the personal and collective struggles of Filipinos during the martial law era, presenting a no-one's exploration of resilience and survival. His works often challenge readers to confront their perceptions of history and reflect on its impact on the present. Next is the relevant in today's society. Dalisay's relevance in today's society stems from his timeless exploration of Filipino life and culture. His ability to tell stories and resonate across generations fosters empathy and a deeper understanding of the struggles, triumphs, and complexities of being Filipino. By focusing on personal and historical narratives, his works encourage reflection on contemporary issues such as societal issues, social justice, identity, and governance. His storytelling bridges the past and the present, making his works relatable and thought-provoking for modern readers. So the last one is the impact of post-EDSA works on today's literature. Dalisay's post-EDSA contribution have shaped contemporary Philippine literature by setting a standard for the writing that addresses both personal and societal issues. His works inspire literary trends that focus on truth-telling, historical introspection, and cultural preservation. For example, Killing Time in a Warm Place not only depicts of life during martial law, but also it invites a re-evolutionary of democracy and human rights. Dalisay's writing continues to serve as a benchmark for Filipino authors influencing how they approach sensitive topics and encouraging them to tackle pressing issues with no one's in depth. So that's the end of my topic.
Okay, hey everyone, my name is Kent and today we're going to discuss about Ruth Eliana Mabango, her life as a poet and as also a very big giant no, in Philippine literature. Now, let's take a look to Ruth Eliana Mabango's uh, biography. And Ruth Eliana Mabango is a literary icon no, that you need to know about, and she is born on March 30, 1949 in Manila. She's a poet, a playwright, a journalist, and she's also champion of the Filipino language. No? And not just that, she didn't stop at one degree. No? She also earned her Bachelor in Filipino from University of the East, and she is a Master in Filipino Language and Literature from Philippine Normal College, and her doctorate no, in Filipino from Manuel L. Quezon University. No, but what really inspiring in her career is that Dr. Banglo no, became a professor at the University of Hawaii, Manoa, no, where she coordinated programs to promote Filipino and Philippine literature globally. She's been publishing poetry for over 30 years and has received countless awards for her works. And some of her notable pieces are Liham ni Pinay mula sa Brunei, and she also wrote the Bala ni Lola Amonita and Amaya ng Imperialista. This writing focus on important themes like women's struggles, Filipino societal issue, and feminism. And one of her standout works is katong Paghabol ng Jeep. No? It paints a vivid picture of repetitive, almost robotic lives of workers in a service economy. No? It's a powerful reflection of real life struggles that's still relevant today. No? As we can see, until now, inanagihap nagahitabo. And also, Dr. Mabanglo impact no, doesn't end with her writing. She also dedicated to creating a global network of Filipino language and teachers, no, ensuring our national language continues to thrive across the world. No, so that's Ruth Eliana Mabanglo, no, an icon of literature, and her advocacy is leaving a lasting legacy for Filipino language and culture. So that ends my discussion. Thank you.
Hi and good day everyone. I am Kevin Laguna Blanco and I am going to discuss the short stories after EDSA in 1986. The first story that I'm going to discuss is entitled The Very Last Story of Holy by Lilia Quindosa Santiago. This article is about the life of Holly after she survived sexual exploitation from Padre after jumping out of the dormitory window. She dwelled around in search for food and shelter. As she was roaming around, she happened to pass by a group of men who were drinking. These men raped her, leaving her an emotional trauma she would carry on for life. She had a chance to seek help from an investigator, but unfortunately, she was also raped by the investigator. She later on met Tinyong who took her in, thinking that this man is good-hearted person. She went with him only to experience sexual exploitation again, but Holly survived after she managed to kill Tinyong in fear for her life. Now, what is the relationship of the story, the very last story of Huli in EDSA? So, the relation of the story, the very last story of Huli is that it is one of the short story that was translated in English and that was done during the post EDSA. The short story, the very last story of Huli, portrays or symbolizes the Filipino people and the problem they encountered during those time. The story portrays how human rights violation and power are being overused and being practiced incorrectly. The story of Holly, a symbol of suffering and resilience. The story follows Holly, a victim of systemic abuse and exploitation, as she endures repeated violation of her dignity and humanity. So first we have survival from exploitation. Holly escapes the dormitory, symbolizing an attempt to break free from oppression, only to face even more severe abuses from the people she encounters, including supposed protectors like the investigator. Another one, dehumanization and trauma. Her suffering at the hands of multiple perpetrators reflect the pervasive misuse of power and the lack of accountability during time. Her descent into insanity represent the long-term psychological effects of abuse and loss of self. Hull's journey portrays how the powerless, particularly women, become victims of both societal neglect and systemic abuse. Number 2, reflection of human rights violations. Holy Story symbolizes the Filipino people's experience of oppression during the martial law period and its uh, lingering effects. So A, sexual exploitation and abuse of power. The repeated violations, Holy Faces represent the unchecked abuse of authority that plagued the martial law era. Officials and figures of power exploited their positions, just as the investigator abused Holy instead of helping her. The next one is neglect and marginalization. Holy's inability to find genuine help reflects the lack of institutional support for the oppressed, particularly women, during the time. A symbol of resilience amid systemic abuse, Holy represent the Filipino people who endured trauma and exploitation yet survived against all odds. Her eventual insanity reflects the psychological toll of years of oppression and neglect, echoing the collective trauma of martial law survivors. So the themes and symbolisms, the story employs powerful themes and symbols to critique societal issues. We have this one, abuse of power. Police abusers, especially the investigator and Tenyong, symbolize how those in positions of power or trust often exploited the powerless for their own gain. So this reflects the corrupt practices rampant during martial law and even in the post-EDSA period. Another one, gender and vulnerability. Holly's experiences highlight the intersection of gender and systemic abuse. Women, particularly those without resources or support, were often the most vulnerable to exploitation. The story amplifies the need for gender sensitive reforms and stronger protection mechanisms for women. So the third one, social indifference. The townspeople, gossiping about Holly's insanity reflects society's tendency to judge victims without addressing the root causes of their suffering. This critique of social apathy remains relevant today. The fourth one, relevance to Philippine literature and society. The story contributes to post-EDSA Philippine literature by first giving voice to the marginalized. So, wholly represent silenced victims of abuse, providing a platform to discuss social and systemic issues. Second one, highlighting human rights issues. The story raises awareness about the importance of justice, equality, and institutional reforms, values that became central in post-EDSA Philippines. The third one, encouraging reflection. It prompts readers to examine their own rules in perpetuating or combating injustices in society. In conclusion, the very last story of Holy is more than just a narrative for one woman's tragedy. It's a symbol of the Filipino people's struggle against systemic abuse and societal neglect, particularly during and after the martial law period. As a piece of post-EDSA literature, it serves as a critic of the misuse of power and the failure to uphold human rights, while also emphasizing the resilience of the oppressed. So the story remains relevant today as a reminder of the importance of justice, empathy, and accountability in building a fair and humane society. And that's would be all. Thank you.
Execution Day by Charles Song-ong. Charles Song-ong. Charles Song-ong is a Filipino-Chinese author, fictionist, and educator, born on July 6, 1960. He is known for his award-winning works, including The Trouble in Beijing and The Execution. His stories often explore the complexities of Filipino-Chinese identity and the social dynamics during the martial law era. Ong's award-winning blends personal reflection with social commentary, highlighting themes of family, justice, and ethnic tensions. He also earned multiple accolades, including Palanca Award, and teaches literature at the University of the Philippines. Settings. This story was initially this story was initial years of the martial law period. President Marcos declared martial law at September 22, 1972. September 21st in the story. The story was narrated through flashbacks. Char Song Ong's story, The Execution, is a vivid exploration of life under the martial law in the Philippines, reflecting themes of justice, social prejudice, and familial struggles. Set during the early years of martial law, it follows the impact of the execution of Chinese drug smuggler Ganso on the life of Mario, a young boy, and his family. Mario's father, Lim Bien-so, is deeply affected by Ganso's death, grappling with anger over the lack of intervention from their community and the frustration with a justice system that seemed to contradict Christian values. The execution causes emotional and relational turmoil in the family, especially as Lim becomes increasingly distant and embittered. The story is narrated from Mario's perspective, blending personal trauma with a critique of social injustice during a turbulent period in Philippine history. The tale captures how public events can ripple through personal lives, causing profound and lasting effects. Thank you for your time.
Hello and good day to each and every one of you. I am Kristen Vera from BC English 3B, and today we were going to tackle a literary work created by a Filipino writer named Ricardo Lee, which is entitled Among the Disappeared. So first, let's start the discussion by knowing the author. So Ricardo Lee was also known as Ricky Lee. He also was a Filipino screenwriter, journalist, novelist, and playwright. He was born on March 19, 1948, in Daet, Camarines Norte. In his high school days, he won his first National Literary Award for a short story he wrote. This inspired him to write novels and short stories. After high school, he studied Bachelor of Arts at University of the Philippines, then later taught screenwriting at its College of Communication. During these times, he became an activist fighting against martial law. He wrote more than 180 films, screenplays since 1973, and earned more than 70 trophies. His works became popular, which made him considered as one of the greatest screenwriters of the Philippines. Now let's talk about the story. So who are the characters? Junjun, short for Jonathan Lumibang, is the protagonist of the story, and he is the son of the underground activist of the story, Ami and Manny. He was described as the son of martial law. Ami and Manny, Emmanuel Lumibang, Junjun's parents, they were defined as the hero and the soldier. Jin, one of Junjun's closest friends, he is the boy who always saved Junjun at school. Pongka Pongka, a homosexual man and a mother, the first impersonator that Junjun met. Kes, Pongka Pongka's 9 years old adopted child. Mitch Valdez, an actress who's also good in impersonating others. Dante, a friend of Junjun's mother. Now, let's dive into the summary of the story. Year 1972, the military ruled the entire Philippines. The governance of martial law is a dark flash in our history. Many lives were lost, houses were raided, and people were arrested, and newspapers and radios were shut down. Many went underground. There were those who used different names and identities so as not to be caught by the military. In the declaration of martial law, people were restricted for having civil liberties. Because of this, Filipinos rebelled against the government. They became activists where they participated in rallies. They were called as UG or underground. At that time, Junjun was born, the son of martial law. The author represents him as the son of gossips in the neighborhood and the usual contents in the people's sacred letter. Junjun grew up with his step-parents. He always had fear in the eyes. When he was young, he always experienced pain and suffering from them. He used to be a speedy child who tended to wear turtlenecks in order to hide on his bruises on the neck. Junjun had the talent in singing, but because of her mother's insistence, he was even more discouraged. Now, his pinched voice is coming out of his mouth. He also had experience in talking to closet all day, until the time comes the closet spoke for him instead. In April 4, 1987, the day of his disappearance happened. He looked at the mirror and he was gone. He is 17 years old. He left the house and never returned. The poor young kid cried, covering the cold body with a newspaper. He looked like the wind who goes around but invisible. In this part, Junjun can finally go out and enjoy his freedom. He is now free from his stepmother's cruelty. However, he is not visible to the eyes of the people. In his disappearance, he went first to Jin, the boy who used to save him at school. But now he's not visible to him. He tried to talk with Jin in his room, but he doesn't respond. Junjun felt so sad as he left in his room.
He felt so lonely as he walked on the street, questioning himself of why he is not visible to others. Junjun went everywhere and squeezed himself. He first met Pongka Pongka, a homosexual man and one of the greatest impersonator he met. Junjun met Pongka Pongka as a mixture of different popular figures. Junjun approached him. He would have reached him with tissue paper, but he only touched air. He just listened to Pongka Pongka's sad life story. He complained of how people see him as nothing and how his father beat him on the wall because of his ginger. He promised to himself that someday he would be famous and rich. Junjun followed him going home. He found out his adopted child named Kes, 9 years old. Like Junjun, Kes always received beating from Pongka Pongka whenever he's angry. But despite of this, Kes still loved him as her own mother. Junjun left again, leaving the mother and daughter behind. Here he met Mitch Valdez, also a great impersonator and an actress. She was once a famous star but no longer popular. Junjun admired her because of her voice and had wounds. She is humorous but she might be tearful when being hooked. For Junjun, audiences are just a sea of wide open mouth where different kinds of laughters are coming out. Junjun realizes that all of them were just the same. Him, Pongka Pongka, Kes, and Mitch, they are all lost souls. Their eyes can sleep and their feet are restless. If they're not hiding, they are probably lost. The moment came when Junjun finally decided to find himself. He wanted to know where he came from and who his real parents are. He went back to his former residence and here he saw a paper with written address of a sales lady at Showgirl, the woman who temporarily took care of him before the soldiers killed his father. After looking for the lady, he found out that his parents are revolutionists. He began roaming around to strikes and rallies. His ears were filled with imperialism and colonialism, criticism and revolt. He inhaled the smell of disagreement and let out a cry of rebellion. Here he found out an old woman holding a placard with a picture of his face and his father. There are words written in the placard saying, Jonathan and Emmanuel pinaslang at dinukot ng kasistang sundalo. Bigyan sila ng katanungan. He concluded that the old woman might be related to him and can help him to find out more about his parents. He followed the old woman going home, which he believes is his grandmother. He introduced himself to her even though he could not be seen. Her grandmother was shocked, followed by tears. He finally found his grandson. She revealed the true personality Junjun's parent, Manny and Ami, a hero and a soldier. Junjun memories came back and he remembered how him and his father get separated. He was 3 years old back then. While walking with his father on the showgirl, three soldiers approached them. They pointed their guns in his father and shoot him until he died. On the other hand, his mother was intelligent and very skilled in disguising. She once pretended as a teacher when she nearly get caught by the soldiers. In this way, her mother created a new life for a UG or an underground should have different personalities like an impersonator. To find his mother, her grandmother took him to Dante, her mother's friend in the movement. Dante is one of the skilled members on the underground. They asked him how he could see his mother. The next few days were waiting for news of his mother's whereabouts for a desaparecidos. When it rains, the memories hurt the most. Junjun was surprised when Dante introduces him to his friend, Jean. Jean knows where his mother was. She's almost a legend in the movement, he said. He went to her mother's old house in the outskirts of Manila. Finally, he found Amy. He looked at his mother and kissed her on the forehead, even though he was invisible to her. He solemnly guarded her throughout the night. He doesn't introduce himself right away to her. That time, the unexpected situation happened. The soldiers attacked. The bullets flew and looking for an exit. Junjun wanted to take Amy and run away, but a soldier caught up with him. Amy was about to be shot, but Junjun blocked the bullet. The blood flows. He finally came back. When he woke up, he saw Jin, Dante, Mitch, Pongka Pongka, and Kes again. They were all excited. Finally, the missing half returned. And that's the story all about. So, A Moon to Disappear is a heart-wrenching exploration of the human cost of a martial law. Through the mother's desperate search for her son, we witness the unbearable pain of loss, the resilience of the human spirit, and the unbreakable bonds of love. This powerful narrative puts faces to the statistics, voices to the silence, and hope to the forgotten. It reminds us that even in the darkest moments, humanity prevails, and that memory, truth, and justice are the keys to healing and redemption. And that will be all. Thank you for listening.
Good day, everyone. Today we will tackle about the story of Gay Love by Honorio de Dios. But before that, let us know about their background of author or their background. So, Honorio Bartolome de Dios, he is born in Marilao, Bulacan, and he was a seminarian who studied sociology, engaged in social works for 10 years, and wrote about lives of gay in the current society. And now let us proceed the story of Gay Love. Mike and Benji first met at social gathering or a party that was specifically for people working in the media industry. They have project and sambales, then they become close to each other. And the reason behind this persona is that he doesn't want to get hurt again. This implies that he been hurt in the past relationship, possibly experiencing heartbreak or betrayal. So when Benji is afraid to have commitment to other guy again, but then Mike and her GF Carmi, they are recently separated. So after their work, they spend time together, Mike and Benji, engaging casual activities like drinking, so that moment Benji tells Mike that he loves him. So marks is a turning point in their relationship. So this confession reveals Benji deeper feelings. But at the end, there is an awkward silence. So the fact that they don't talk at all night after Benji's confession. So Benji is nervous about Mike's reactions and the potential for rejection, while Mike might be surprised to unsure how to respond. But at the end, they are living together in a one house. And let us now proceed to the theme of the story. So the first theme of the story is friendship. Mike and Benji they are close to each other, and that's a reason why Benji fall in love with Mike. And the second one is equality. So whatever our status is and whatever our identity, we're unique and equal. And the third is the right to love. Always remember that there is no wrong to love, and whatever your gender, whatever your status, as long as you love each other, and there's no wrong with that. And that's all. Thank you so much.